Yes, here we go, you guys. The first video on my channel this week is going to be just the tip with me, your host, Uncle Weezy. And you know what that means? It means the smoking jacket is on. It means it's Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time. And it means that it's time to break down all 13 fights on the UFC 272 card that is happening this Saturday, March 5th, 2022, culminated by the main event, Colby Chaos Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. Former friends, now enemies, the grudge match, the welterweight, maybe next in line for the title shot. I don't know how that all is going to work, but guess what? It's going to be a great fight. We got a fantastic card here from top to bottom, and we're going to break down all these fights from a statistical perspective as well as from a tape study perspective, because I have done all the notes. I've taken all the notes on all 13 fights, broken it down statistically, broken it down by tape, and I got information on all these fights for you guys, and I want to break them all down with you guys. What's up to everybody in the chat? Thanks for spending your Tuesday evening with me, and I can't wait to do this once again with you guys. We got my guy JSJ23 in the room saying, "Oi, hope you're good, Unc." So many intangibles in this main event, but stats will always matter. Yeah, the stats matter more in some fights than the others, you know. In a fight like this one that we got, the stats matter because we got big sample sizes for both guys, you know. But like you said, we got some stuff going on with this fight that, and for me, the narrative issues of this fight are whether Jorge Masvidal is fully checked in here. You know, he's got his own promotion. Icon is a regional scene fight promotion that you can watch on UFC Fight Pass. He's one of the owners of that promotion, if not the owner, and he's got a lot of irons in the fire right now. And, you know, MMA is the kind of sport where you either need to be 100% in or you're not going to do well. And, you know, I guess we're going to find out on Saturday whether Masvidal is checked in, whether he's been training, whether he's ready to take on a guy in Colby Chaos Covington, who's just a nightmare matchup for anybody that could be considered even slightly unprepared, because this guy is always prepared with the conditioning, the wrestling, a good game plan, a wrestling heavy game plan that keeps his defense where it needs to be so he doesn't absorb a ton of damage. And he's just an incredibly frustrating guy to fight. So if he's not checked in for this one, man, we're going to see. But I can't wait to break it down with you guys. We got my guy Mark Schillingberg in the room saying, "Oi, can't wait to dive into this card with the chat and Uncle Weezy. Good to see you here, Mark. Thanks for stopping by." We got my guy Lou Betya in the room saying, "Can't believe it's only 11 days till the Snow Leopard makes his UFC debut. This card also looks to be okay." Yeah, definitely. It's all just kind of downtime until we get to see Javid Basharat back in the cage, and that will be next weekend. But we just got to pretend to care about this card for even just a couple of days, you guys, until we get to next week. But this card should be okay. But my guy Lou in the room, one of the guys that I've teamed up with to be bringing you guys MMA Engine very, very shortly in the future here. We've all been working really hard behind the scenes, and this guy's been working harder than anybody. Shout out, big up yourself, Lou Betya. And another guy that we always got to shout out, we got to big up, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jacques Tits in the house, letting us know that the ass shavings have been spot on lately. Thank you so much, Jacques. Yeah, I owed you guys at least this much because I got off to an 0-3 start. I got so overconfident at the beginning of the year that I gave you a 3-cheeked ass shaving where one of the fights fell out and the other two were both losses. And I got served on the first fight of the year as well with an ass shaving. I don't even remember who it was. It might have been Rothwell. And that was too long ago. But anyway, doesn't matter. We are always looking forward, you guys, whether we're winning or whether we're losing. Whatever's in that rearview mirror is in the rearview mirror. We got to keep our eyes steadily ahead of us and always looking at what's coming up next. Working hard this week to make money this week. As soon as this week's over, we got to work hard next week to make money next week. So I'm going to try to do my best every single week to pick an ass shaving of the week that will be easy money for you. And it didn't get much easier than Ramiz Brahimaj last week with the first round submission. But the other guy that I was thinking of who was second on the list was Arman Sarukian. I cashed a bet on him as well. And my God, is he an absolute savage. What a performance by Arman Tsarukyan on Saturday, cashing me a bet. I appreciated that. But I'm going to see who I got for you guys. I do have my ass shaving of the week. It was a lot tougher this week to choose one than it was last week. So yeah, definitely can't wait to give that to you guys at the end of the show, like we always do. My guy Sean Cundy in the room saying, "Oi, let's get after it." Thanks for all the time you put in, Weezy. Thanks for all the time that you guys out there put in watching my content. I wouldn't be doing this if you guys weren't watching it. So big ups to everybody that's hanging out, that's watching the content, that's hitting that thumbs up button, that's hitting that subscribe button. I appreciate each and every one of you. And we got another guy that I appreciate here, Mr. DFS by the numbers, with one of the heartiest oys that I've seen in the chat. My man, good to see you hanging out in here with us on a Tuesday night. We got Daz Files saying, "Oi, oi, oi, let's go, Smooth Jimmy." Smooth Jimmy Apollo is chomping at the bit to break down these fights with you guys. We got my guy Paul Brassfield saying, "Let's go. Parlay King in the house, ready to cash again. Salute Uncle Weezy. Keep hitting those parlays, man. I do not have the sack to bet parlays. I almost never do it. I don't know if this week's going to be any different. But you guys out there that are betting those parlays, I wish you the best of luck, and I love to see you guys cashing them, man. We got my guy Daz Files in here, absolutely supporting the show, and it is so much appreciated. You guys, ring a ding ding, supporting the channel with a generous donation. My guy Daz Files saying, "Bet smart, maintain the right mindset, and let's bash these bookies." And I couldn't agree more with all three of those sentiments, my friends. Big up yourself. Great words from a guy who watches a lot of content on YouTube and supports the content creators out there. And we know that Daz Files knows his shit. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for hanging out. We got Andy MG in the room saying, "Oi, we got a banging card this weekend, Uncle Weezy. Can't wait to dive in." Neither can I, man. This is such a good one. And we got JSG saying, "Let's go." Thanks for hanging out, JSG. Justin Villegas saying, "We want Weezy." My man, good to see you in here. We got Strickland Burner in here saying, "What's up, brother?" We got Pascal Roshan saying, "Oi." We got Justin saying, "Weezy, Weezy, Weezy." We got Strickland Burner saying, "Colby Covington is the man." I agree with you there, Strickland's Burner. We got Dhruv Nanda in the room saying, "Yo, yo." Much love to Dhruv. We got Lou Betty saying, "I need to hear the Moroz Agapova breakdown. Not even the fight, but what led up to it." Yeah, I am not too schooled. Actually, DFS by the numbers kind of had to update me on the air on Stat Diggers as to what was going on behind the scenes with those two, is I wasn't really sure of what it was. I know that they both trained at AT&T, and evidently they were roommates in the past, and there's probably not a lot of good blood between these two right now. So it could be a damn good fight. I can't wait to see it. And we got Pascal saying, "What's the choice of beverage tonight, my friend?" Well, tonight, you guys, it's actually coffee. See, I've been working hard these last 3 days. UFC 272 is something I wanted to provide a lot of content for you guys. So I've been at it since early today. And I just need a little bit of a kick in the pants here to get me going for the last few hours of tonight. And I still got some more work to do late night tonight and tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that you guys don't know about, but that you will be finding out about soon. And I am here for it. I am ready to work. I'm working the long hours, and I'm giving myself the beverage in order to get myself to work those long hours. A little sip of coffee for your Uncle Weezy here before we keep going. All right. And we got my guy, Justin Villegas, saying, "Joe Alvarez broke me. There was no fight in him at all. Very disappointed. Can we talk about Kane V?" You know, I saw something on Twitter that said, what was it? Free Cain Velasquez. I have no idea what's going on, you guys. I've been on the tape index literally since 10 o'clock this morning watching fight tape. So whatever happened to Cain Velasquez, whatever happened with him, I have no idea about any of it. You guys are going to have to fill me in. And we got my guy Victor De Jesus in the room saying, "Oi, yes, hey, Uncle, I'm trying to get rich this weekend. Tell me who to bet on. Let's stack them. Let's do it, man. I'm going to tell you who I've got bets on so far and who I'm intending to bet on after the show." And we got Dhruv saying, "Bet Colby by decision and collect your money." I tend to agree with you on that one, man. We got my guy David Milk saying Weezy and Masvidal and Kobe still secretly still friends, or is this bad blood real? You know, I wish I knew. I am not in Florida. I don't have any behind the scenes information about whether this has been manufactured from the start or not. But this has been going on for a minute. I could see definitely Colby pissing some people off. And I think he's done that very well with a lot of the people that he used to train with. It seems like Poirier genuinely hates him. It seems like Masvidal genuinely hates him. It even seems like Dan Lambert over there is just sick of him and has had enough of him as well. So I don't know if this is real or not, man, but I can't wait to see the fight. I'm here for it. I'm always ready for a Colby Covington main event, and this one is no different. David, good to see you, man. Big up yourself. We got Strickland's burner saying, bro, if it was fake, we would have really found out. I think so, man. We got my guy Andy MG, ring a ding ding with the donation, supporting the show, supporting his Uncle Weezy. Much love, brother, saying shout out to you, Uncle Weezy. We appreciate your hard work as always, my man. I appreciate the donation to the channel. It means so much to me. Andy MG, big up yourself. Thank you so much, man. We got Blood Money saying, Weezy, what's up, brother? Good to see you in here, Blood Money. We got Jarno saying, Weezy, I took a small loss last card, minus 2.65 units. Not good, but not terrible either. Time to make that back this week. Jarno, you've been on a heater lately, man. And, you know, those never stay forever. You know, we're going to take our losses every once in a while. I took a small loss 2 weeks ago, bounced back, got back in the black here last week with a 1.25 unit win. But I need more than that this week, man. I'm looking for a 4 or 5 unit win this week. I want to really stack them like flapjacks this week, Jarno. And I want to bring you along for the ride, baby. So let's break down these fights. Strickland's burner saying there wouldn't both have gotten kicked out of the gym. Colby would have never got kicked out. Yeah, for sure, man. My guy Nick Odd, ring a ding ding with another donation, $4.99. Much love, brother. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and supporting the show. I appreciate it. We got Cuban Assassin saying, hey, Weezy, Dos Anjos is 7,300 on DraftKings and Moicano is 7,200. Going to be weird at those salaries. They're both going to be high owned at those salaries for sure. And it's a 5-round fight. So it seems like it's a must roster because in a 5-round fight, you know somebody's going to score well over 80 or 90 points, even in a decision win. Yeah, Brahimaj and Sarukian were great calls. The Brahimaj one was easy. The Sarukian one, not as easy. Chris Harm saying, oi, my brother, let's cash some tickets. We got Strickland's burner. You're the man, but you know that. You're the man, Strickland's burner, for hanging out on the show. We got my guy, PayPal My Money DFS, saying, get an apple martini. Too late for coffee. It is too late for coffee. I agree with you on that, man. I almost never do this, but, you know, when it's time for Just the Tip, when I have to get ready for Just the Tip, I got to make sure I bring that energy for you guys. It's the biggest show of the week on this channel. And I got to make sure that I'm up for it. And now I'm fired up, dude. I'm ready to go. Let's blast through these last comments, guys, and then get down to it. Bailey Rippinger, bro, he got arrested for attempted murder? Holy shit. I did not hear about this. My God. What? Cain Velasquez? Jesus. Was it the second Junior Dos Santos fight? Are they just arresting him for that now? My God, man, I did not know about that. That's fucking crazy. Jesus. Apparently Cain shot somebody and is being charged with attempted murder. My God. Wow. Cain was arrested for attempted murder. Oh, my God. My thoughts to the victim. That's just awful. Velasquez is in jail. No bail. Attempted murder and a shooting. There's a little more information. He was attempting to kill someone who assaulted his child. Wow. King Bicky saying easy money on Islam under 3 last weekend. We need him to replace Fiziev this week. Let's go. It's going to be Renato Moicano who's going to be replacing him. Free Cain. Cain is fucked, but he had the right intentions. That ass shaving was on point. Thank you. Yeah, it was on point. But you guys, we got to get on point here. 15 minutes into Just the Tip. Time to break down all 13 of these fights from a statistical perspective. Let's bring my guy and co-host, Smooth Jimmy Apollo, on the screen here. The guy that really kind of built this whole thing from scratch, let's face it. The guy who's right 52% of the time, and he's ready to break down these fights, as am I. Let me share my screen with you guys here and bring up these stats. And as always, you guys, these stats can be downloaded for free in the description of this video. Use it to help you make all your gambling decisions. We've got Jacoby, Oleksiejczuk, Smith, Klein, Kelleher, Nurmagomedov, Negumereanu, and Nzechukwu, Elliott, Ulanbekov, Moroz, Agapova, and on down the line, all 13 fights, and then the advanced stats and player cards for all 26 fighters on the card. Download it for free. Follow along. I'm going to go to my notes here, and I am going to bring up the banners that I have for you guys, which have the betting lines on all of these fights. And let's start with Dustin Jacoby versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. We will go into the numbers here. The advantages for Dustin Jacoby in this spot, you guys, he is 3 inches taller, and he's got a 2-inch reach advantage in the measurables. In the experience, he's got 1 more professional fight, 30 more minutes in the pro cage, 3 more years as a pro mixed martial artist, extensive kickboxing experience in addition to MMA, and 1 more UFC level fight, 45 more minutes in the UFC cage. And he lands almost 2 more significant strikes per minute than he absorbs. He's out-voluming his opponents, and he's more accurate. Decent power for the division as well for Jacoby. For Oleksiejczuk, he's 6 years younger, and he's a southpaw, so those are both meaningful in the measurables area. He's a more accurate and more powerful striker, and he's more defensively responsible according to all the metrics compared to Jacoby. In the grappling, Michal prefers to strike just like Dustin does, and he's managed to keep his fight standing over 85% of his UFC cage time in a 7-fight sample size. Despite being taken down 9 times, he's only been controlled by his opponents for 4 minutes, so he does have a decent get-up game. And Michal has fought, beaten, and lost to the better, more experienced competition in the UFC. And, when we look here, if I zoom in on these stats for you guys, over here at the strength of schedule numbers, I like to look at these win numbers. We kind of take a look at the average record of who these guys are beating, and you see, neither one of these guys are beating guys with winning records. 3.5 wins and 4 losses for Oleksiejczuk, 2 wins and 2.4 losses for Dustin Jacoby. They're both losing to better competition, more experienced competition, but, their wins are about the same here. This should be a kickboxing match, but Oleksiejczuk's power numbers, you guys, are quite good for the division. He's landing a knockdown on 2.21% of the significant strikes that he's landing. That means that he's had 5 knockdowns in 7 UFC fights. That is some serious power. He's got nice striking ratios, and he's got a 65% striking defense. And since neither one of these guys grapple, I think that Michal Oleksiejczuk here is quite live. And at the line, we're getting plus money, plus 155 on Oleksiejczuk. I don't think I'd lay the minus 180 or minus 190 on Dustin Jacoby here. He's a very good kickboxer, but Oleksiejczuk is a southpaw. He's got a very odd style, and I could see him giving Jacoby some problems, especially early. And since Jacoby isn't the kind of guy I can count on to win minutes grappling, I would say if I was betting this fight, it would be dog or pass, you guys. I'd much rather take that plus 160 on Michal Oleksiejczuk here than the minus 190 on Dustin Jacoby. I'm going to pick Dustin Jacoby to win this fight by decision. But if you held a gun to my head and made me bet this fight, I would much rather take the plus money on Oleksiejczuk. That power that he has is real, you guys. He's very good defensively. And I think one of his biggest problems has been that 47% takedown defense. But in Dustin Jacoby, you've got a guy who's attempted only 5 takedowns in 8 fights. So I think Michal's biggest hole defensively is that grappling. But since Jacoby's not the guy to exploit it, I think that this is going to be a very close fight, you guys. And I would not lay that juice on Dustin Jacoby. I'll call it Dustin Jacoby by greasy split decision because he's won a couple of those already. But I think it's going to be a very close fight. And I would not recommend laying that juice here on Dustin Jacoby. All right, let's get to the next ticker here. And this fight, you guys, is very interesting. We got Devonte Smith against Ludovic Klein. Now, Devonte Smith was supposed to be fighting the Ghost Pepper, Eric Gonzalez, but he hurt his foot. So Ludovic Klein is stepping in here on just over a week's notice. Let me get my notes up on the page here, you guys. And we've got the advantages for each guy here. Devonte Smith in particular. He's 2 inches taller, and he's got a 4-inch reach advantage here, as you can see. He's fought almost half of his career at the UFC level, while for Klein, it's about 15%. He's a killer-be-killed fighter. All 14 pro fights have ended inside the distance. When it comes to the striking, nicer striking metrics in the UFC as a whole for Devonte Smith here. He's got crazy power. He's landed 3 knockdowns in 6 UFC fights, and he's landing them at over a 2% clip, and he's won 100% of his UFC wins inside the distance by knockout. He's landing 1.24 more significant strikes per minute than he absorbs. He outvolumes his opponents and has a better striking defense than Klein by 10%. Plus, Devonte is a problem when he goes to the low leg kicks, and he did so with a ton of success against another southpaw in Dong Hyung Ma. In the grappling, he's kept his fight standing over 85% of the time, has 80% takedown defense, and he showed a really impressive top game against Justin James. And the strength of schedule, he's fought and beaten and lost to the more experienced UFC competition. For Ludovic, he's a southpaw, so that's always a good thing. Just being a southpaw is a bit of a statistically significant advantage when it comes to the measurables categories. In the experience, Klein has 7 more pro fights, 44 more minutes in the pro cage, and 1 more year as a pro. He's the more diverse finisher in comparison to Smitty, as he has just as many wins by submission as he does by KO. He's got 8 of each. In the striking, Klein is a southpaw, so the power weapons of both fighters will be open for business in this fight. Klein features a very nice left leg high kick that he's scored KOs with, and Smitty has been KO'd in all 3 of his pro losses and has been knocked down twice in the UFC. In the grappling for Klein will be the far more willing wrestler in this matchup, as he has shot for 9 takedown attempts in 3 UFC fights, while Smith has attempted 1 in 6 UFC fights. So Klein has 8 career wins by submission, and he'll probably be the more well-rounded mixed martial artist in the spot, you guys. And Klein has fought, beaten, and lost to the UFC competition with the better win-loss records, and it's been Devonte Smith who's fought the more experienced competition. So one of the reasons I like the fight doesn't go to decision for this fight, you guys, is because the power weapons for both of these guys are going to be open for business, like I mentioned. The southpaw in Klein throws that left leg kick that's vicious, and he's also got hands. And then Devonte Smith throws that straight right down the middle, and that's his best weapon. And we see that Devonte Smith, has a 100% finish rate, and Ludovic Klein has a 94% finish rate. So in these guys, 28 combined wins, 27 of them are inside the distance. And Smitty's been finished in all 3 of his losses, and Klein has been finished in 3 of his 4 losses, you guys. So the fight doesn't go to decision here for this particular fight. Let me refresh the best fight odds page so we get the most up-to-date look to where these lines are right now, you guys. But the fight doesn't go. He's sitting at minus 175 in a couple spots, and it looks like it's minus 210 on 5 dimes. So it's really not available on any of my books, but I think that that's a really good look. When you're talking about like a 95 or 96% combined finish rate in the wins and an 83% combined finish rate in the losses, it feels like a fantastic spot here. As far as the fight goes, about a couple, 2-3 fights ago, I thought Devonte Smith might be on his way to the top 10. His boxing looked so good. His takedown defense looked good. We've even seen a nice top game out of him. And the speed of his hands is absolutely next level. But he got knocked out by Kama Worthy. He got knocked out by Jamie Mullarkey. And now I'm starting to think maybe this guy's kind of chinny. And if he's kind of chinny and he doesn't go to his wrestling in order to protect that chin, how good is he going to be? How high is the ceiling for Devonte Smith here? So even though Klein is taking this fight on short notice, I don't think that there's anything that Devonte Smith does really, really well that Klein doesn't do well himself. And I think it's really important to remember here that Klein is the more well-rounded mixed martial artist here. He's a southpaw. He hits hard too, but he spent the first half of his career really using his grappling to finish fights. So I think he might actually have more ways to win this fight than Devonte does. And we haven't seen Devonte look good past the first round yet in the UFC, except for in the Justin James fight. But I think the Justin James fight is going to be a lot easier than the Ludovic Klein fight. This is another situation where I think I'm going to pick Devonte Smith to win this fight, but I would not recommend laying the juice on him. I think that this fight finishes inside the distance, and I think the best bet for this fight is fight doesn't go to decision. But I'm going to pick Devonte Smith to win this one by greasy split decision. Klein on short notice, facing a power puncher like Smith, who does seem to be well-rounded enough to maybe stop some takedowns and keep the fight standing if that's where he wants. I think Smith's going to do just enough, you guys, to win this fight. I think he'll win it inside the distance if he gets the chance to. But, I think the fight doesn't go to decision is the only thing that I would bet for this fight. So the next one that we have, you guys, is going to be Umar Nurmagomedov squaring off against Brian Kelleher. So I've got that up there for you guys. Let me just cough here real quick and take a sip of coffee. Fantastic. All right, you guys. This is an interesting one. Let me go. So Brian Kelleher, I'll go over the advantages for Kelleher first. In the measurables, he doesn't have much except for that he's a switch stance fighter, and that is statistically significant. Switch stance fighters usually win about 60% of the time. In experience numbers, definitely he's got a huge experience advantage here over Umar. 23 more professional fights for Brian. 165 more minutes in the pro cage. Almost 6 more years as a pro. 12 more fights at the UFC level. He's fought just under 40% of his career at the highest level. 110 more minutes in the UFC cage. Better, more diverse finisher with a 75% finish rate. Brian has shown some power at the UFC level, landing 3 knockdowns in 13 fights and averaging 0.37 knockdowns per 15 minutes. So that's what he brings in the striking that looks good. And in the grappling, Brian's been an efficient grappler at the UFC level. He's out-controlling his opponents at almost a 2-to-1 ratio, and he's landing his takedowns at a 42% rate, averaging 1.87 takedowns per 15 minutes and 0.75 submission attempts per 15 minutes. And as far as the strength of schedule goes, he's fought and beaten the better, more experienced UFC competition. For Umar, he's 10 years younger in this spot. That is very, very important. And he's also the much bigger guy here, being 2 inches taller, having a 3-inch reach advantage. He uses his offensive grappling to stay defensively responsible in the striking exchanges. He's only absorbed 0.81 significant strikes per minute in his UFC debut, very similar amount to what Islam Makhachev absorbs. 61% striking accuracy and almost 77% striking defense in his debut against Morozov. For the grappling, he's a next-level wrestler, grappler, and minute winner on the ground. 6 of his 13 pro wins are by submission, and he outcontrolled Morozov at a 22-to-1 ratio on the ground in his debut. 8.67 takedowns per 15 minutes, 1.73 submission attempts per 15 minutes. It's going to be really hard for Brian to win minutes on the ground against this guy. And if Brian is winning minutes on the feet against Umar, I would be very surprised, because Umar is much taller and much longer, and his striking is fantastic, and he manages range very well. This is, if Brian Kelleher served up a vet lesson to Umar Nurmagomedov here, I would be shocked. This guy is clearly one of the prospects that really looks to be one of these Russian guys that's just destined to be in the top 5. And however many fights it takes him to get him there, he probably doesn't lose any of those fights. This kid is going to be very, very, very good. When we look at the strength of schedule numbers here, you know, when we see the guys that Brian Kelleher is beating, they have a winning record: 3.5 wins, 2.63 losses, 6.13 total fights, and a 1.33 win to loss ratio. And these guys that are beating them are good fighters. 7.4 wins, 3.6 losses, 11 total fights, and a 2.06 win to loss ratio. So, you know, you can't count Kelleher out here, but you also really have to respect what Umar Nurmagomedov was able to do against Serghei Morozov in his UFC debut. Another guy that's much more experienced. Another guy who's a fantastic wrestler. Another guy who mixes in his wrestling with his striking and does a great job of dictating where the fight will take place. You know, Serghei Morozov is all of those things, and probably even better than Brian Kelleher in some of those areas. So it's really hard to picture the 35-year-old bantamweight here in Kelleher coming up with an upset over the 25-year-old undefeated Umar Nurmagomedov, who has been training with, you know, guys like Khabib and Islam since day one, pretty much. Eagles MMA in Russia. Yeah, this guy is for real, you guys. Or Umar Nurmagomedov is going to be he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in this bantamweight division. And that's saying something, because the bantamweight division is absolutely stacked with talent. But I am very much looking forward to Umar here. And he's a fantastic prospect. And, you know, I'm a big fan of Brian Kelleher, but this is not the spot to be betting him or picking him, you guys. I'm going to take Umar. I think he's going to get this done maybe first or second round submission. And then I also just want to mention that Nurmagomedov has won 46% of his wins are by submission as a pro, and 50% of Brian Kelleher's pro losses are by submission. So Umar could absolutely submit this guy. Might even be worth a sprinkle if you can get plus money on Umar by submission, but it's probably minus money because this line is absolutely juiced to the tits. The best you can find on Umar right now is minus 625, and Kelleher is plus 450. When you look at the ticker there at the bottom, you guys, though, all these lines are courtesy of Bet Online. That's the book that I'm using to present these lines. So the next fight that we're going to go to, you guys, is an absolute unmitigated shit show, and I am here for it. I can't wait for this fight. This is something that Brady and I were talking about on Stat Diggers, and we said that this could be MMA's version of the Three Stooges, with Nikolai Negumereanu, Kennedy Nzechukwu, and then either Chris Tione as Curly as the ref, or Keith Peterson as Mo. How awesome would that be? But this is a great fight. Let's just hear. First of all, let's just go through my notes for this one. So let's see here. I got to find them, though. All right, so the Negumereanu advantages. He's 2 years younger than Kennedy. He's got one more pro fight. He's the better, more diverse finisher in comparison to Kennedy. And Nikolai will probably be the more willing grappler here. However, neither of these guys grapple much. For Nzechukwu, the advantages are huge in the measurables. This guy's got freakish size for the 205-pound division. He's 5 inches taller, and he has a 5-inch reach advantage, and he's a southpaw. In the experience, he's got 24 minutes in the pro cage, 4 more UFC-level fights, 35 more minutes in the UFC cage, and he's fought almost 2/3 of his career at the UFC level. In the striking, he's much longer. He throws way more volume. He's more accurate and more powerful according to the metrics, and he's 20% more defensively responsible than his opponent. Everybody in the UFC is more defensively responsible than Nikolai Negumereanu. He has a 29.8% striking defense. This guy, you could not miss him if you tried. Yeah, I mean, you could probably hit him with a baseball from 300 yards away. Even if you didn't even throw it the whole way, you would probably run to the baseball and dive head first right into it. So anybody can hit Nikolai Negumereanu, even Kennedy Nzechukwu. So yeah, he's definitely more defensively responsible as an Nzechukwu in the striking exchanges. And in the grappling, it's interesting with Kennedy. Kennedy has attempted 1 takedown in the UFC, and his opponents have attempted 45. So people are definitely trying to take Kennedy down, right? But despite that fact, Kennedy has only yielded 17% control time against, and he's shown 80% takedown defense. So he's done a decent job of keeping the fight on its feet, despite the fact that his opponents have been absolutely desperate to get the fight to the ground every time they fight him. And he's averaging facing more than 6 takedown attempts per fight. And let's see, Kennedy's fought the much more experienced and higher level of competition thus far in the UFC, you guys. This is going to be a low-level shit show. When we look at the guys who these guys have beaten, Kennedy has beaten guys with winning records, but the average record is 0.8 wins and 0.4 losses, so he's not fighting anybody experienced. Negumereanu's wins are over guys with losing records, 1.5 wins, 2 losses, 0.75 ratio. Negumereanu's ratio overall, 0.43. You know, it's just a low level of competition that both of these guys have been fighting, but Kennedy has fought the better level of competition by a decent margin here. So who wins this fight? I mean, I don't know, man. This is crazy. Like, Kennedy looked like absolute garbage against Da Unjung. I don't know what that game plan was. I don't know what Saif Saud is teaching this guy, but it's not mixed martial arts. This guy does absolutely nothing for the first round of a fight. It's like somebody has to wake him up after he goes back to his corner and say, son, this is a fight. And it's 3 rounds, and the first round already happened, and you weren't there for any of it. He just stands there like a zombie with his hands in front of his face, and he's standing right in front of his opponent. And he doesn't even throw. He just stands there. So, and then there's Negumereanu, who blocks punches with his face, who's got a head like an Easter Island statue. And that's saying something next to Kennedy Nzechukwu, who looks like Kid from Kid and Play in the House Party movies had gigantism. And I mean, I'm at a loss for words, guys. I don't know what to tell you about this fight. It's probably going to be really exciting. It's probably going to be just really ugly. I think it's just going to be ugly. And I have no clue who's going to win it. So my bet would be whoever is plus money. The plus money side here is Nick Negumereanu. My God. But Kennedy and Nzechukwu, and we just heard the dog barking. So maybe it is. Maybe it's Nick Negumereanu's time to put together a 3-fight winning streak in the UFC. Is that right? Am I tripping? Or is Nikolai Negumereanu won 2 in a row? Alexa Kamer and Isaac Villanueva. Could number 3 name on that list be Kennedy and Nzechukwu? Since I don't know what either of these guys does well. I mean, and Nzechukwu, here's what he does well. He's got fantastic conditioning. He's got great volume. He's got great length, but he doesn't seem to have any process to his game. He doesn't try to win minutes with the grappling at all. He just tries to avoid losing minutes in the grappling exchanges. And even though he's throwing 11.41 significant strikes a minute and his opponents are throwing 10, I don't know where the volume's been. 50% striking defense is decent. You know, maybe Nzechukwu could out-volume Nikolai, but I think Nikolai will be the one marching forward. I think he'll be the one landing the bigger shots, and he'll be the guy that's literally trying to end the fight here. And so, yeah, you know what, you guys? I'm going to go with the underdog here. I'm going to go with the Romanian, Nikolai Negumereanu. I think it's going to be a super fun fight. And if I do wind up placing a bet on this fight, I want you guys to call 1-800-GAMBLER. Send the orderlies. Just tell them when you call, I need you to send the orderlies over to Uncle Weezy's. They have me on speed dial. They usually have one of those funny farm trucks outside like 3 blocks away with just in case they have to pick me up. I'm not betting this fight, but the pick is going to be Nikolai Negumereanu by decision, let's say. Let's see here. The next fight, you guys, is going to be Tim Elliott against Tagir Ulanbekov. And let's see. Let me get to my notes here for you guys. I've got the ticker up. And this is another one, man. I just don't know what to do with this fight, right? Let me see if this is up here. Yeah, there it is. Okay, sorry, guys. My notes are out of order. But for Tim Elliott, the advantages, experience, obviously, in this particular situation against Ulanbekov. Elliott's got 16 more professional fights, 175 more minutes of pro cage time, 4 more years as a pro, 14 more UFC level fights, over 50% of his career in the UFC, and 170 more minutes in the UFC cage. In the striking, according to the metrics over a huge sample size, Elliott has the far better striking ratios. He's busier, he's more accurate, he's more powerful, and more defensively responsible. He's fought, beaten, and lost to the more experienced, better competition in the UFC. For Ulanbekov, he's 5 years younger. That's significant. 30 years old comparison to 35 for Tim. He's got a 4-inch reach advantage. That's definitely going to help him out here. In the experience, he's the better finisher, 61% finish rate to Tim Elliott's 53% finish rate. And Ulanbekov has never been finished in his career, while Elliott has been finished in 6 of his 12 career losses. So Ulanbekov appears to be more durable. And in the grappling, Ulanbekov has been the far more efficient and better minute winner on the ground. He's landing 4.5 takedowns per 15 minutes in comparison to Elliott's 3.79. He's got a better takedown percentage, 56.25% for Ulanbekov, 45.87% for Elliott. And he outcontrols his opponents at a 53% to 8.7% ratio on the ground, while for Elliott, it's 31% to 22%. I expect Ulanbekov to be the better minute winner on the ground, you guys. You know, both of these guys are spending more than half of their fights in control time positions, right? And that's what Tagir has been doing really well here in the UFC. He's out controlling his opponents at a pretty sick ratio there, 53% to 8%. So if Ulanbekov is going to be the better minute winner on the ground, and if this fight is really likely to take place on the ground for large swaths, I do believe Tagir Ulanbekov has a good chance to win this fight. But let's keep one thing in mind here. Who has Tagir beaten? Well, the average record of a Tagir Ulanbekov win is 1 win and 1 loss. So he hasn't beaten anybody yet. A guy like Tim Elliott, who in the UFC has 16 fights. Now, he's 6-10. He doesn't have a good record, but this guy has fought the best that the flyweight division has to offer. So this is going to be the best test for Tagir Ulanbekov up to this point. And guess what? Tim Elliott kind of does all the things well that Tagir Ulanbekov does. Tagir averaging 8 takedown attempts per fight. Well, Tim Elliott's averaging like about 6 over a much bigger sample size here. He's getting almost as many takedowns for 15 minutes. He's doubling the amount of submission attempts for 15 minutes. And over a huge sample size against much better competition, he's also outlasting and outcontrolling his opponents at a decent clip. So, yeah, I still think Tagir Ulanbekov wins this fight. If I were to bet him, I would bet him to win by either 3rd round or decision to get a better line. But frankly, you know, trusting Tagir Ulanbekov at this price against a wily, experienced veteran who's fought much better competition than Elliott, and frankly, a guy who does the same things well that Tagir does, and is an odd matchup at the same time, I could see this fight playing out really close. I am not running to the window to lay juice on Tagir Ulanbekov this week, nor will I be betting him. I think the value here is on Tim Elliott. We see Tim Elliott right now sitting at plus 205 here on DraftKings. The best that we can get on Ulanbekov is minus 225. You know, that's almost a 70% implied probability. He'd have to win this fight 8 out of 10 times for you just to have a little bit of an edge over the books here. So, yeah, the pick is going to be Ulanbekov by greasy decision. I'm thinking Ulanbekov round 3 or decision would be the way to go here. But, yeah, I'm not going to be betting it, you guys. I'm going to be staying away from that fight. The next one that we're going to talk about here is going to be very, very interesting. Marina Moroz versus Mariya Agapova. We've got the pullout queen against the queen of crazy. So Marina Moroz has had 7 of her last 9 fights be canceled. And 6 of those 7 cancellations were due to Marina pulling out. This was the last fighter that I watched tape on today because I literally wanted to wait until just before the show because I was that confident that Marina Moroz was going to pull out of this fight. Because she's just been pulling out of everything, you guys, lately. She has not fought since the Mayra Bueno Silva fight, and that was back in 2020. So it's been a minute since we've seen Marina Moroz. And then we got Mariya Agapova, who's a bit of a wild card out there. She's got a little bit of the crazy in her, evidently, from what people are saying. And, you know, these two ladies have roomed together. They know each other. There's some bad blood there. And I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. And I think it's a very interesting fight to break down, you guys. So let me get to my notes on this one. So Marina Moroz's advantages, you guys, in the measurable, she's 1 inch taller. In the experience, she's got 1 more professional fight, 37 more minutes in the pro cage, almost 2 more years as a pro, 4 more UFC level fights, 70 more minutes in the UFC cage. And Moroz has fought over 60% of her pro career at the UFC level, while for Agapova, it's about a third. In the grappling, Moroz has been the better minute winner on the ground thus far in the UFC. And in the strength of schedule, Marina has fought, beaten, and lost to the better, more experienced competition. So we got an experience advantage, a grappling advantage, and a strength of schedule advantage here, according to the metrics for Marina Moroz. Agapova, though, is 6 years younger. She's got a 1 inch reach advantage, and she's a southpaw. But definitely not the first southpaw that Moroz has fought or trained to fight. As she was supposed to fight Manon Fiorot, she just recently fought Mayra Bueno Silva. She's seen some southpaws before. Agapova is a better finisher. She's got a really good finish rate for a female flyweight at 80%, while Moroz is at 60%. And in the striking, in the UFC, Agapova has shown way better striking ratios and differences. She's 25% more accurate. She's got a 54% striking accuracy, while for Moroz, she couldn't hit water if she fell out of a boat. 31% striking accuracy. And she's landed 2 knockdowns in 4 fights as Agapova, while Moroz has landed 0 knockdowns in 8 fights. So there's a big power advantage for Mariya. And in the grappling, while Moroz has been the more active wrestler and has done a good job using it to win minutes in the UFC, Agapova is way more accurate on her takedowns at 66.67%, and she averages 2 more takedowns per 15 minutes than Moroz does. So we haven't seen Moroz for a long time, but both of these ladies are boxers. Marina Moroz, Ukrainian boxing champion, and I believe Mariya Agapova was a Kazakh boxing champion. So they both have that boxing base. They both throw really nice straight punches. They've both got good reaches for the division, 68 for Agapova, 67 for Moroz. It's going to be Moroz who throws a lot more volume, but it's going to be Agapova that has much more of a sting on her punches here, you guys. This 0.95% knockdown for total significant strikes landed is very, very good for the division here. That's 2 knockdowns in 4 fights. So Mariya's got a lot of power. Marina will be bringing the all right, so they're both named. We got a Marina and we got a Mariya, and there's a Y in both of them, and it's freaking me out. So Moroz will be the better volume striker. Agapova will be the better power striker. And what I think will happen is that Moroz will probably try to win minutes on the feet as long as she can. The second it starts going Mariya's way on the feet, we're going to see Moroz go to the takedowns. She's attempted 22 takedowns in 8 fights, and she's only gotten 4 of them. 18.18% takedown accuracy. So it's not very good. But in those 4 takedowns, she's managed over 16 minutes of control time. So when you consider it, when she does get the takedowns, she can win an entire round off of one takedown. So she's done a very good job being able to do that. And we see Maryia Agapova has allowed 2 of the 3 takedown attempts against her in the UFC, 33% takedown defense. And she's been controlled for 3.5 minutes, almost 4 minutes on those 2 takedowns. So Marina Moroz is going to be the one, I believe, here that is able to mix in the wrestling when she doesn't like how the striking exchanges are going. And on the feet, frankly, I think Marina is almost as good as Mariya. I think Moroz's boxing is just as good. Her technical proficiency, the way that the punches come straight down the pipe, it's just that Maryia Agapova will be landing the heavier strikes here. I think that this fight probably goes to decision. They call Marina Moroz the Iron Lady not because of her ability to make it to the cage, but once she's in that cage, she can take a shot. She's got an iron chin. And if you need any evidence of that, go back and watch the Mayra Bueno Silva fight. She took an absolute beating in the 3rd round of that fight. And Mayra was landing the much better, much heavier strikes like I expect Agapova to. But Marina won that fight because she got takedowns in rounds 1 and 2. And once she got those takedowns, she spent the rest of the round on top. So this could be a situation where if you bet on Agapova, she might be landing the better strikes in all 3 rounds. But if she can't keep away from Moroz's takedown, she might lose a decision here, you guys. I think this fight is going to go to decision, and I think it's going to be very, very close. And once again, I'm going to sound like a broken record because I said it on the Jacoby fight, I said it on the Devonte Smith fight, and I said it on the Tagir Ulanbekov fight. These are 3 favorites that I'm not willing to lay the juice on. And with Maryia Agapova, it's the exact same thing. Marina Moroz is very, very live. If she's coming in here and she's on point, she's just as good of a mixed martial artist and probably more well-rounded and definitely more experienced and has fought the better competition in comparison to Agapova. And even, like the 2 wins for Agapova, I'm not impressed by the Sabina Mazo win, even though she looked fantastic in that win. Moroz has beaten Mazo as well. And then the Hannah Cifers win. Hannah Cifers is a small strawweight, and she came up to fight a giant flyweight in that fight. So we got to keep in mind who the wins are here for Agapova. This is a step up. Moroz has a very similar skill set to Agapova. The only thing that we can really say about Agapova that she has a serious advantage in is the power and the youth. Everything else is negotiable, you guys. I'm going to pick Maryia Agapova to win this fight by decision, but I am not laying minus 200. And I know I sound like a broken record, but I just got to keep on that pace. I got to let you guys know when the favorite is not somebody that I would be betting on. Next fight, you guys, Marina Rodriguez against Yan Xiaonan. I spent quite a bit of time watching tape on both of these ladies. This is a great fight. I can't wait for it. All right, the notes. Let me get to Marina Rodriguez here. The Rodriguez advantages, you guys. She's 1 inch taller. She's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage in this spot. In the experience, she's got 2 more professional fights, 60 more minutes in the pro cage, 2 more UFC level fights, and 35 more minutes in the UFC cage. She's the slightly better and more diverse finisher, and she's more durable. When it comes to the striking, she's very accurate and very powerful, and she's got a slightly better striking ratio than Yan. And in the strength of schedule, Marina has fought and beaten the much better level of competition here. For Yan Xiaonan, she's 2 years younger, and in the striking, she's a very, very busy striker. This is how she wins fights. She throws 1.5 significant strike attempts for every one her opponent throws. And she's been very defensively responsible thus far in the UFC, boasting a 61.73% striking defense over a 7-fight sample size. Now, in the grappling, Yan is very efficient with her takedown attempts, getting 6 of 8 and averaging more than a minute of control time per successful takedown. Rodriguez has been controlled for almost 39 minutes on 13 successful takedowns. So she does have a tendency to lose minutes on the ground and get stuck there. Since Jan has been the more active offensive wrestler, I think there is a chance that she could win some minutes in the grappling. And, you know, if there are grappling exchanges, I think that she can win them. But we got to, if we look just a little bit further into the stats here for Yan Xiaonan, those 6 out of 8 takedowns, I believe 5 of them all came in one fight. So let me look at that real quick here. So there's Marina. There's Yan. So Yan, the takedowns were in the Karolina Kowalkiewicz fight. 5 out of 6 takedowns and 300 seconds of control time here. And she got 1 takedown in the Angela Hill fight in 111 seconds of control time. But that's actually a little bit deceiving because Angela Hill had her in a triangle at the end of the first, and it almost finished it. So that would have been counted as control time for Yan Xiaonan while she was actually in a very bad position, was this close to being finished. She got saved by the bell there. So Yan Xiaonan is not somebody that we can count on to go out there with a wrestling heavy game plan, execute it, and win minutes that way. And when people don't do that against Marina Rodriguez, they have a very bad time, you guys. So let me just highlight this here. I'm going to highlight the 2 draws against Randa Marcos and Cynthia Calvillo and the 1 loss against Carla Esparza for Marina Rodriguez here. Now here, this is the control time for, and this is the control time against. So we see 343, 304, and 534 in control time against here. So in her losses, she is giving up control time, but she's also giving up some control time in winning efforts as well. But what we see is a very wrestling heavy game plan here in these fights. Marina Rodriguez got taken down 5 times by Carla Esparza, 3 times here, and 2 times by Randa Marcos. In every other fight, so in her 2 draws and in her 1 loss, she's been taken down 2, 3, and 5 times. And in all of her wins, she's never been taken down more than once. And in all those wins, she's never been controlled for a higher percentage than 33%. She gave up about little less than 30% control time to Mackenzie Dern, who actually wasn't even able to finish her. She gave up control time to a judo black belt and Amanda Ribas, and Ribas wasn't able to finish her. So the common denominator in fights where Marina Rodriguez is lost is that her opponent has gotten 2 takedowns and at least 33% control time. Yan Xiaonan never gets more than 2 takedowns against anybody not named Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and she's never gotten more than 30% control time in a fight, which means that if she's going to beat Marina Rodriguez, chances are she's going to have to do it on the feet. And if she does it on the feet, she's going to have to do it at a 2-inch reach disadvantage, a 1-inch height disadvantage, and a significant power disadvantage. If Marina doesn't like how the distance striking is going, she can close the distance and go to the clinch. And she is absolutely vicious in the clinch. You know, the deeper I got into this fight and the deeper I got into the stats, you guys, the more I liked Marina Rodriguez. I really believe if you're going to beat this girl, it's going to be almost impossible to beat her in a distance striking battle, especially when your major weapon is just volume, because volume can only go so far when you're getting hit as hard by somebody as mean and powerful as Marina Rodriguez. That Muay Thai style is going to be problems for Yan, especially if Marina gets her in the clinch. She's strong there. She's mean there. She throws knees. She throws elbows. And she just has a style that thrives there. I like Marina Rodriguez here, and I'm picking her to win inside the distance by knockout in the 2nd round, you guys. Let's see here. We go Oh my God. And I see that my guy F. Carrillo is in here. Ring a ding ding with a donation. You guys, if I've missed any other donations, I highly apologize. I'm reading notes. I'm on my tickers. It's hard for me to keep up with the chat when I'm doing this, but I love each and every one of you for hanging out on a Tuesday night with your Uncle Weezy. And whether or not you support the channel, I love each and every one of you for just hanging out and going through the content with us. It means so much to me. But F. Carrillo has been such a huge supporter of this channel and of Stat Diggers. I just wanted to shout him out. No words to express my gratitude, Uncle, yet my brother from another mother. True passion for these breakdowns. God bless you. God bless you, brother. Thank you so much for all you do to support the show. It means so much to me, F. Carrillo. I can't even explain it, man. But thank you. So the next fight, you guys, is going to be Jalin Turner versus Jamie Mullarkey. I did a balls deep breakdown on this fight on the new MMA Engine YouTube channel. The link to that is in the description of this video. So if you want a longer, more nuanced breakdown of this fight, please check that out. We went about, I think, almost an hour on this fight. It's fantastic. It's a great fight. Two fantastic prospects here. Let's get to the advantages of both fighters, and then I'll kind of take you through what I saw on tape. In the measurables, we got Jalin Turner having huge measurable advantages over everybody in the division. He's 1 year younger, 3 inches taller, 3-inch reach advantage, and he's a southpaw here. In the experience, Jalin has fought a higher percentage of his career at the UFC level than Mullarkey. That's 43.75% to 22.22%. And he has 3 more UFC level fights and almost 10 more minutes in the UFC cage. Slightly better finisher than Mullarkey, and that's saying something because Mullarkey's got a 92% finish rate, but Jalin Turner not to be outdone with a 100% finish rate. In the striking, you guys, Jalin Turner's got huge size, length, and athletic advantages. He's way better striking ratios. His striking ratio is 1.5 to 1, while Jamie Mullarkey's is 0.68 to 1. He's 7% more accurate than Jamie Mullarkey. He gets more knockdowns per 15 minutes, basically twice as many knockdowns per 15 minutes as Jalin Turner at 1.3 to 0.68 for Mullarkey. And Jalen's a volume monster, throwing 13 significant strike attempts per minute, while his opponents are throwing pretty much almost half that at 7.5. Mullarkey gets out-volumed by his opponent, 7.46 to 8.18. So better striking ratio, better accuracy, more power, more defensively responsible. So Jalin Turner's really got a lot of advantages here in the striking. In the grappling, Turner's been very efficient in the grappling exchanges. His opponents have attempted 23 takedowns, and Jalin Turner has only attempted 4 takedowns. But despite the fact that he's getting out takedown attempted at a 6-to-1 ratio, he's actually out-controlled his opponents 21% to 12%. And Jalin has shown 78% takedown defense on 23 attempts in only 7 fights. So he's definitely seen a lot of takedown attempts, and he's definitely guarding them at a very high percentage. And in the strength of schedule, Jalin has fought and lost to the tougher and more experienced competition and has beaten opponents with a better win-loss record. For Mullarkey, he's got 2 more professional fights, 65 more minutes of pro cage time, so he's a little more experienced. In the striking, he's shown great power. He's landing a knockdown on 1.71% of the significant strikes that he's landed, and he's had 2 knockdowns in only 4 UFC fights. In the grappling, Mullarkey's been the far more active wrestler thus far in the UFC, attempting 28 takedowns in only 4 fights, completing 9 of them and out-controlling his opponents at a 29% to 11% ratio. So he's been a good minute winner on the ground. And in the strength of schedule, over the last few fights, Mullarkey has faced the better brand of competition. So even though the metrics actually favor Turner here, I just want to show you, over the last 5, when you look at these names like Brad Riddell, Fares Siam, Kama Worthy, and Devonte Smith, it's a little bit better than Earl Smedich, Brock Weaver, Kulabau, Frivola, and Potter. But then when you go back before this, the name before this is Vicente Luque, up a weight class. So that's one of Jalen Turner's losses. And then the loss to Frivola was a very close fight. But Frivola definitely won a lot of minutes on the ground there and did enough in the wrestling to win that fight. I'm on Jalen Turner, you guys, here. I've got a 2.7 unit bet at minus 135 on the money line for him. When I went through the stats here, I don't really see any advantages for Mullarkey. Maybe a little bit of a power advantage in terms of how often he lands a knockdown per significant strikes attempted, but really Jalen Turner, the measurable advantage. He's fought a way higher percentage of his career at the highest level. He's fought the tougher competition. He's the better and more diverse finisher. He's the more powerful striker, the lengthier striker, the more athletic guy. Jamie Mullarkey's got him in toughness, that's for sure. He's very, very tough, very durable. He's very gutty. He will fight for your money, will Jamie Mullarkey. And because of that, he's always a decent underdog to take a chance on because he's cashed quite a few times as one. And he's the kind of fighter who can thrive in that style. It's just that Jalen Turner looks to be a very good prospect. And I don't know how Mullarkey's going to win minutes here because at distance, I think he's going to be at a serious disadvantage here. I think if Jalen Turner chooses to wrestle, that he's going to have a lot of success. When I saw Jalen Turner body, I don't remember who it was. The Brock Weaver. Boy, was he looking good there. And Callan Powder, who's a really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player, Jalen Turner definitely was able to, fend off all of those attacks. Even Frivola got less than a third of the fight in control time. So Jalen Turner did very well on the ground against him. I think he's going to be better everywhere. I feel very confident that Jalen Turner will get his hand raised at the end of this fight. And I think he's got a really good chance to do it inside the distance. Let's not forget that both of these guys, in 25 combined wins between Mullarkey and Turner, 24 of them have been inside the distance. And both these guys are getting finished too, as Turner's been finished in 3 of 5 professional losses, and Jamie Mullarkey's been finished in 2 of 4 professional losses, all by knockout. And I think Mullarkey's loss to Riddell could have been stopped as well. So, I think inside the distance is definitely a possibility for either fighter. Hang on just a second. All right, we're unmuted here. Let's go, you guys. This is going to be a great fight. I can't wait for the Turner-Mullarkey fight. Tatooine Dream just said, if Turner doesn't finish Mullarkey, I can see it getting ugly. And I absolutely agree because Mullarkey does have a lot of fight in him, and he will go that full 3 rounds. But I just think that Turner's better everywhere. And then Mullarkey's going to be at a massive size and athleticism disadvantage here, and that he's really got his work cut out for him here. I do see this being Jalen Turner all day, man. Let's see here. The next fight, you guys, and I didn't even put up the damn ticker for that. What an amateur move. Jalen Turner on Bet Online, minus 155. Jamie Mullarkey, plus 135. And the fight doesn't go to decision, minus 210, due to the fact that these guys have been finished inside the distance more than half of their combined losses, and they finish at a 96% rate in their wins. The next fight, you guys, that we're going to go is on the main card. It is the curtain jerker for the main card. Serghei Spivac against Greg Hardy. We have got the advantages for Serghei Spivac here. He's 6 years younger. He's a very, very young heavyweight here at 27 years old. Hardy is 33. In the experience, despite being the younger fighter, Serghei is more experienced, having 4 more professional fights, 35 more minutes in the pro cage, and 3.5 more years as a professional mixed martial artist. Serghei has an 84% finish rate, 46% by sub, 38% by knockout. So he's the more diverse finisher in comparison to Hardy, who has only finished his pro wins by knockout. In the grappling, Serghei has the far superior ground game here, you guys. He's got a 57% takedown accuracy over 21 takedown attempts. He's averaging 2.72 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he's outcontrolling his opponents at almost a 2-to-1 ratio. On the strength of schedule, Serghei has fought and beaten the better, more experienced competition. For Greg Hardy, he's 2 inches taller. He's got a 2-inch reach advantage. He's going to be the bigger heavyweight here. In the experience, Greg has fought a bigger percentage of his career at the UFC level. 11 of 12 pro fights have been at the UFC level for Greg. He basically walked right into the UFC from day one. He has 4 more UFC level fights and a little more UFC cage time in comparison to Spivac. In the striking, Greg's numbers are better everywhere. He lands over 1 significant strike per minute more. He's a little more accurate, and he's a lot more powerful than Serghei on the feet. And he's a shade better defensively, and he's a little less chinny than Serghei as well. In the strength of schedule, Hardy is lost to the better, more experienced competition. He's losing to guys like Tai Tuivasa, Marcin Tybura, and Alexander Volkov. While Spivac has also lost to Tybura, but he beat Tai Tuivasa, and then Spivac's other 2 losses were to Walt Harris in his UFC debut and to Tom Aspinall on less than a week's notice. So this is an interesting fight because Greg Hardy is going to be much better on the feet here. He's going to be the far more powerful striker, the far better striker, more athletic, and more powerful. Serghei uses his boxing to kind of set up his takedown entries. And, he's decent defensively there, but he's a lot more chinny than Hardy's been thus far in the UFC. He's way less powerful. He's never landed a knockdown in 7 UFC fights. So Spivac's absolutely at his best when he's going to his grappling. And we see over 50% on his takedowns. He went 8 for 8 on his takedowns against Tai Tuivasa. 34% control time for, 18% control time against. And here we see Hardy, his fights are taking place at striking range like 87% of the time. So I believe that Hardy's going to be in good shape when this fight's on the feet and striking. The question is he going to be able to stop takedowns from Serghei Spivac? And I love Greg Hardy's leg kicks, but I don't know if he's going to be able to go to the leg kicks here against Serghei. I think every time he thinks about firing one of those leg kicks, Serghei is going to go in for a takedown. It's how he got Tuivasa to the ground so many times. We know how fantastic Tuivasa's low leg kicks are. Every time he tried to throw one at Serghei, Serghei was grabbing that leg and putting his head right into his belly button and knocking him on his ass. Took him down 8 times. So I guess the question is where do you think this fight takes place? Because we saw Greg Hardy have a fantastic first round against Marcin Tybura, won the round easily, knocked him down once. And then in the second round, we saw Hardy kind of slow down because he's got asthma. He's a huge heavyweight, and he throws a lot of volume and with very bad intentions when he does throws. So he doesn't have much of a gas tank. And if you bring this guy into a grappling heavy game plan where you're taking him down and making him get back up, making his arms fill up with blood, getting those lungs working, you can get him out of there in the second or third round. Whether it's Greg Hardy by first round knockout or Serghei Spivac by a second round ground and pound knockout, I do expect this fight to finish inside the distance because if this fight stays standing, I think Hardy's going to find a knockout. And if this fight gets to the ground over and over again, I think it's just a matter of time before Spivac breaks Hardy. And let's remember something here, you guys. Let's go to the advanced stats here. We're going to take a quick look at Serghei Spivac. I want to talk about what he's done well here in the UFC, right? So we got Hardy there. Let's look at these wins. Oleksiej Oleinik, Jared Vanderaa, Carlos Felipe, and Tai Tuivasa. By the way, 3 of those 4 guys have winning records. Win 291 in control time to 211, 509 to nothing, 292 to nothing, 261 to 5. And in the losing fights, 0 seconds of control time, 0 seconds of control time, 0 seconds of control time. Uncle Weezy's stat of the fight for Spivac Hardy. If Spivac gets more than 0 seconds of control time, he wins 100% of the time. Now, we'll have to see if that holds up. But let's look here, you guys. 3 out of 3 on takedowns, 3 out of 7 on takedowns, 6 out of 8 on takedowns. When Serghei Spivac loses fights, he gets 0 takedowns, guaranteed. If he has, he does have one fight where he didn't get a takedown, and that was against Oleksiejczuk. And that's because Oleksiejczuk is a very dangerous grappler, a guy who has almost 50 submissions on his record. So Serghei Spivac is a guy, when he gets takedowns and when he gets control time, he wins fights. So if you're on the Greg Hardy side, my suggestion to you would be to bet him by KO or by first round KO. Because if he doesn't get a KO over a 15-minute fight, Serghei Spivac is probably going to get at least one takedown in some control time. And if he does that in the second or third round when Hardy is tired, he is going to drown him. So the only way that I would bet Greg Hardy here is either by KO or by first round KO. Otherwise, I think that this fight is going to be Serghei Spivac. I would have some interest in a Serghei Spivac round 2 prop here, even a round 3 prop potentially. I think either one of these guys who wins it gets it done inside the distance, and the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 220. Feels like a safe spot to me. I don't see this fight seeing the scorecards, you guys. My pick is going to be Serghei Spivac by second round ground and pound knockout. The next fight, you guys, is going to be Kevin Holland against Alex Oliveira. And let's see here. We've got Kevin Holland, 5 years younger here. He is going to have some measurables advantages because he's a natural middleweight, moving down for the first time to welterweight here against Alex Oliveira. So Holland's going to be a huge welterweight, you guys. He's 5 years younger, 4 inches taller, and he has a 5-inch reach advantage. So serious measurables advantages here for Kevin Holland. In the experience, Holland has been the more durable fighter. He has an iron chin, and he's only been finished in 2 of 7 losses, while Oliveira has been finished in 7 of 11 losses. Striking, Holland lands more, throws more, he's more accurate, and he's far better defensively. And in the strength of schedule, Holland has an edge in the strength of schedule metrics. However, he was fighting at middleweight, while Oliveira is bounced around between welterweight and lightweight. So I'd say when you adjust for that, it's Holland who has faced and beaten the better competition here, you guys. Oliveira's advantages, he's got an experience advantage here, having 7 more professional fights, 6 more months as a pro, 6 more UFC level fights, and 40 more minutes in the UFC cage. Oliveira has shown more power over a larger sample size. In 20 UFC fights, he's landed 6 knockdowns for 1% knockdowns per total significant strikes landed. So he's had 6 knockdowns in 20 fights, and Kevin Holland has had 3 knockdowns in 14 fights. In the grappling, Oliveira's been the more willing wrestler, averaging over 4 takedown attempts per fight, while for Holland it's been 1.5. Oliveira has outcontrolled his opponents 34% to 26%, while Holland has been outcontrolled 29.5% to 27.5%. Alex has also shown better takedown defense at 64% to Holland's 50%. And Alex has lost to the better, more experienced competition. So with Alex Oliveira, you got a 34-year-old who's nearing the end of his career, 36 professional fights, 268 minutes of cage time. But it's weird. Even though Kevin Holland is 5 years younger, he's got just 7 less fights and almost an identical amount of pro cage time here, and only 6 less UFC fights as well. So, I think that it's kind of hard to find advantages for Oliveira anywhere. The power advantage is there, but I think that Kevin Holland's power down at welterweight is going to be something that's going to probably be a little more dangerous than what Alex Oliveira has to offer down there. And when we look at the wins, we see very similar wins here for these guys. Oliveira 1.23 ratio, just a little bit under that for Holland at 1.18, and just a little bit less experienced of an opponent for a Kevin Holland win. But we got to keep in mind that that's at 185. And some of these guys that are wrestling them up there, we're not going to compare Marvin Vettori and Derek Brunson's wrestling to Alex Oliveira's. It's not on the same plane, So how does Alex Oliveira win this fight? Does he outpoint somebody? Because Alex Oliveira in his 11 UFC wins has won probably 4 of them by decision, because it's like a 63% finish rate for Alex Oliveira in the UFC. So, that's, yeah, I mean, he doesn't win a lot of decisions, while Holland has won 4 decisions in 9 fights. So Holland can win, minutes. Alex Oliveira, I mean, I don't know if he's been much of a minute winner. He does land more than he absorbs. He is fairly, he's got good power. He does wrestle quite a bit. Yeah, I think Kevin Holland should cruise here, but and I think he probably gets it done late. I'm anxious to see how Kevin's power translates down here at welterweight, because we've seen him get really worked on the ground by some great middleweights. And I just don't see welterweights, especially one like Alex Oliveira, getting that, getting takedowns against Kevin Holland here. So with that huge size advantage that Holland has, and with the likelihood that this fight does stay standing for most of it, I think Kevin Holland here should cruise. But Kevin Holland doesn't have the best fight IQ, in my opinion. He's not the best minute winner, in my opinion. And let's face it, you guys, Alex Oliveira has got a lot of mouths to feed. Think about how many happy children there will be in Brazil if Alex Oliveira gets a win here, a win bonus, and a fight bonus here. So, he's got a lot to fight for. He's not done yet. And even though Kevin Holland should be a little bit better everywhere, I'm not going to lay minus 300 on a guy who pulls stunts like this guy does, that will give up minutes on the ground sometimes and try to prove points using his jiu-jitsu off his back unsuccessfully. I think Holland should win this. I think he probably gets it done inside the distance, but I cannot bet it. The pick, though, is going to be Kevin Holland by 3rd round knockout, you guys. The next fight here, wow, is this a good one? Edson Barboza against Bryce Mitchell. Man, this is crazy. This is your classic striker versus grappler matchup. I watched a ton of tape on both of these guys today. Let's talk about advantages for both fighters here. Edson Barboza, in the measurables, he's 1 inch taller. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage. In the experience, he's got 18 more pro fights, 210 more minutes in the pro cage, and almost 6 more years as a pro, 21 more UFC fights, most of them at lightweight, and 230 more minutes in the UFC cage. Barboza is miles ahead of Mitchell on the feet, obviously. Excellent kicks, sick power, landing a knockdown on over 1% of the significant strikes that he lands. This isn't even close on the feet. Edson Barboza would murder Bryce Mitchell in a kickboxing match. And in the strength of schedule, Edson has fought and beaten the better brand of competition over a bigger sample size, mostly up a weight class. So big measurables advantages, big experience advantages, big striking advantages, and big strength of schedule advantages here, which means that we leave a grappling advantage for Bryce Mitchell. So if Bryce Mitchell only has a grappling advantage, you guys, why the hell is he the favorite? Well, he's also 9 years younger than Edson Barboza. So that's a nice little measurable thing that we can hang our hat on here if Bryce Mitchell, if we're on the Bryce Mitchell side. And let's talk about the grappling. Bryce Mitchell is a fantastic, suffocating grappler, you guys. He commits to it 100%. He's gotten 14 of 30 takedown attempts in the UFC. That's averaging out to 3.26 takedowns for 15 minutes. And he averages 2.33 submission attempts per 15 minutes. And he outcontrols his opponents at better than a 2-to-1 ratio, and almost 75% of his 64.33 UFC minutes in the cage have been spent in control time positions, either for or against. So as good as Edson Barboza is in the striking exchanges, Bryce Mitchell is that good at avoiding striking exchanges. You will very rarely find guys over a 5-fight sample size and over 50 minutes in the cage who have spent more than 80%, or I'm sorry, in this case, 74% of their fights in control time positions. It's very rare. Even when you watch Bryce Mitchell at the end of the Andre Philly fight and at the end of the Charles Rosa fight, right? He's dominated both of those fights in the grappling exchanges, right? And with 30 seconds left, his opponent finally gets up off the ground after he's been blanking them the whole round. And when he could just kind of say, after he's already won all 3 rounds, you would expect Bryce Mitchell to kind of just get on his bike and just circle the cage for the last 30 seconds. Soon as his opponent gets up, he shoots for another takedown, puts him on the cage, dumps him on his ass again. He didn't spend any time allowing his opponents to strike. He's so good at avoiding striking exchanges and so committed to avoiding striking exchanges that he's exactly the kind of opponent that could give Edson Barboza exactly the kind of problem that he has had. When people really commit to the wrestling, they get Barboza down. Now, one of the things that we got to talk about here, though, is that Edson Barboza, over a very large sample size here, you guys, 26 UFC fights, has spent 80% of his fights at striking range. You add up that 6.38% and 13.62%, and it comes out to exactly 20%. So 80% of his fights are taking place at striking range. And if 80% of this fight takes place at striking range, Bryce Mitchell is going to sleep. But Bryce Mitchell, as good as Barboza is at keeping it standing, Bryce Mitchell is that good at avoiding standing up. So, and he's getting his takedowns at a nice clip here. And he's out-controlling his opponents at a 2-to-1 ratio. And he's been taken down a few times as well here. So Edson really isn't going to shoot for takedowns. He attempts less than 1 takedown attempt per fight, and he gets less than 1/3 of a takedown per fight, and only 0.4 per 15 minutes. So Edson's not going to be going for the wrestling here. You'd have to be stupid to do that against Mitchell, because that's where he wants to be. He wants to be on the ground. That's where he's the most dangerous. Obviously, like I say, striking, strength of schedule, measurables, and experience all go to Barboza. But Bryce Mitchell is so good at one thing and one thing only, and so committed to keeping fights in that realm, that he is a favorite in this fight, you guys. As you can see by the ticker right there, Bryce Mitchell minus 152 on BetOnline, plus 132 the comeback for Edson Barboza here, you guys. After watching all the tape, I was so impressed, you guys, with the commitment to the wrestling and on the Mitchell side. In addition to this being a 3-round fight and not a 5-round fight, I'm very confident that Bryce will be going to that wrestling constantly and will eventually get down Edson Barboza and break him down there. I think that this is Bryce Mitchell round 3 or decision. That'd probably be the best way to bet it. And I am going to bet Bryce Mitchell, or I'm not going to bet him, but I'm going to pick him to win this fight by grappling heavy decision, but I could also see him getting a submission on the ground. His grappling is just next level. And when it's that good and you combine it with the commitment, that's what I love. And I just think that this is going to be a very, very frustrating fight for Edson Barboza. I don't think we're going to see it standing almost ever. And I think he's going to be constantly just working to try to stop takedowns. And in the 3rd round, even if he does stop a ton of takedowns, he might not have enough sting on his punches to finish Bryce. So the pick, you guys, is going to be Bryce Mitchell. And I think he could get it done inside the distance potentially. But, man, he is a fantastic grappler. Now, we've got a co-main event here, you guys, which is Rafael dos Anjos against Renato Moicano. So now, admittedly, I haven't had much time to look into this fight as it just was made today. And I was actually expecting this to be Islam Makhachev. But now we got Renato Moicano taking this fight today on Tuesday. So we got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then he's gonna weigh in. So we've got about 48 hours from the point that Moicano is going to arrive in Las Vegas to the point where he's going to weigh in. He was currently on vacation and is just a couple of weeks removed from his win over, I already forgot, you guys, who we just beat. Oh, Alexander Hernandez. So here, let's go for the advantages for both fighters. So we got Dos Anjos in the measurables. He's a southpaw. That's a good thing. In the experience, he's much more experienced. 22 more pro fights. 380 more minutes of cage time, 5.5 more years as a pro, 18 more UFC fights, and 130 more minutes in the UFC cage. Rafi's been durable as a pro, only being finished in 3 of 13 pro losses, while Moicano has been finished in all 4 pro losses. In the striking for Dos Anjos, the numbers are fairly close, but Rafi has shown a little more power and has been a little less chinny than Renato. So probably be the better moment winner. And in the grappling, both guys are excellent grapplers, but Dos Anjos has been the more willing wrestler, averaging almost 5 takedown attempts per fight, getting them at a 37% clip, and out-controlling his opponents by a slight margin. And in the strength of schedule, Dos Anjos was a former champ, and he's fought and beaten the better, more experienced competition. Moicano, on the other hand, is 5 years younger, 3 inches taller, and has a 2-inch reach advantage. So he's got big-time measurables advantages. In the striking, he's been much better striking ratios than Dos Anjos, and spends a much higher percentage of his UFC career at striking distance. So Moicano, for a guy who's as talented of a submission grappler as he is spending 83% of his fights at striking range. So he's clearly comfortable there. While for Dos Anjos, he's only spending about 52% of his fights at striking range. And we can tell with Dos Anjos, with how willing of a wrestler he is, that he's probably a lot more comfortable taking fights to the ground than he is standing. He lands almost 1.5 significant strikes for every one his opponents land, does Moicano. It's a very impressive striking ratio. And he boasts a 64.76% striking defense, which is even better than Dos Anjos' 62% striking defense. And in the grappling, Moicano lands his takedown attempts at a higher rate, 54% for Moicano, 37% for Dos Anjos. And he's very efficient when it comes to out-controlling his opponents, 14.5% to 2.7%. And he's a world champion level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player. And the thing about Moicano is that while he has 14 takedowns, this guy's got something like, I mean, his win by submission rate per takedown that he gets is crazy. If this guy takes you down, there's a damn good chance that you're going to be done before the round is over. This guy, when he gets you down, he advances position, he gets to your back, and he chokes you out. So once Moicano can keep the whole damn fight standing, he only needs to have you down for about 30 seconds to potentially finish you. So he's so dangerous on the ground. He's so efficient. And I think he's just well-rounded and better everywhere than Rafael Dos Anjos. But the big problem here, the elephant in the room is the narrative. This guy's on vacation. He's still in Brazil. According to the news that I read prior to going live, was that like the earliest that he could get into Vegas was like 16 hours later, and he would have to change planes twice. You know, so dude, it's a 5-round fight. And it's a 5-round fight. So this guy's going to have to cut weight. This is going to be at 160 pounds, which I think, you know, maybe favors Moicano just a little bit. But, I mean, what does he weigh right now? We don't even know that. We don't have that information. If Moicano is going to be at his best at plus money, it's a steal. You have to bet him. But there's no way to know how he's going to look. I mean, remember how Bobby Green looked doing almost the exact same thing that Moicano is doing now. Taking a fight on short notice, a 5-round fight at that, shortly after a win, you know, and not expecting the fight right away. Having to cut weight twice in a very short period of time. He looked like crap out there. And I mean, I'm sure 95% of the reason he looked like crap is because he was fighting a guy that makes everybody look like crap in Islam Makhachev. But we can't ignore the fact that this is a seriously tough road to hoe for Renato Moicano to get on a plane, a 14-hour plane ride from Brazil to Las Vegas, change planes twice, get to the UFC Apex, start cutting weight, work on your, get the road work done, because you're about to be fighting for 25 minutes against a guy who's fought for 25 minutes several times. So this is a big stay away from me. I think if it were just Moicano versus Dos Anjos and both of them had a full camp, then Moicano should be probably minus 200 at this point in both of their careers. Dos Anjos 37, over 500 minutes in the pro cage. There becomes a point where the experience advantage that you have becomes a point of diminishing returns. And when you have over 500 minutes of cage time, that's when the sport usually starts to break you. That's when all those injuries catch up with you. You slow down. Your punches don't have the same pop on them. You don't react at the same rate that you did when you were younger, and you're not really fighting for a title anymore either, because you're not kidding yourself and deluding yourself into thinking that you're going to win a title in this division at the age of 38 or 39. So I think Moicano should win this fight, but with the narrative, with the short notice, with the 2 weight cuts, with the flight, it's a big stay away from me, guys. So I'm just going to say I'm staying away from this one, and I will pick Rafael Dos Anjos to win because of those narrative issues. And that leaves us to the main event. So we've got 55 of you guys hanging out live with me here on a Tuesday night. I appreciate each and every one of you for spending Tuesday night with your Uncle Weezy breaking down these fights. Don't forget to smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the MMA Engine YouTube channel if you haven't already. And the main event breakdown that I did with DFS by the numbers, the link to that is in the description. And the link to the Balls Deep breakdown I did on that channel as well for the Jamie Mullarkey Jalin Turner fight is in the link to this is also in the link to the description of this one. And we're going to finish it off here with Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. So let me get to my notes here and let me get this banner up. Did I even get? Yeah, I forgot to put the damn Bryce Mitchell line up for you here and the Dos Anjos line. So Bryce Mitchell minus 152, Barboza plus 132, fight doesn't go to decision minus 160. Dos Anjos minus 170, Renato Moicano sitting at plus 145, and the fight doesn't go to decision at plus money. Is very intriguing for a 5-round fight with Moicano taking it on such short notice. So that's going to be something I'm looking at, but that's on 5 dimes. That's the only 5 dimes line I have on the ticker today because that fight just opened, so nobody really has a fight goes to decision or doesn't go to decision besides 5 dimes. So Colby Covington here is sitting at minus 316. Masvidal at plus 266. The fight doesn't go to decision at plus 105. All right, the advantages for Colby Covington here in the measurables, you guys, he's 3 years younger. In the grappling, he's an elite wrestler, 131 takedown attempts in 14 fights, averaging 4.1 takedowns per 15 minutes, 44.88% control time for, 2.66% control time against. The pace, the pressure, the volume, the conditioning, he drowns his opponents. And in the strength of schedule, Colby has fought, beaten, and lost to the better competition. Masvidal has a 2-inch reach advantage in the measurables. In the experience, he's got a big-time experience advantage, you guys. He's had 50 professional fights. This will be professional fight number 51. If you thought that Rafael Dos Anjos has a lot of pro cage time at 513 minutes, Jorge Masvidal says, move over, son. I've got 577.5, and I could potentially go another 25 here to get to 602.5 minutes. My God. So, yeah, over 300 more minutes in the pro cage for Masvidal. Almost 9 more years as a pro. 6 more UFC level fights. 30 more minutes in the UFC cage. Slightly better finisher. More durable. In the striking, he's got slightly better striking ratios and differences, way more accurate and powerful, slightly better striking defense, but he's been chinnier. So this is striker versus grappler again here. Colby Covington can hold his own on the feet with Jorge Masvidal, but why would he? Masvidal is way more powerful, way more accurate, the way more technical striker here and the way more dangerous striker. But where Colby Covington is the most dangerous is using his striking to set up his wrestling attacks and then just going to the wrestling attacks over and over and over again. He brings the conditioning to be able to push that pace for the full 25 minutes. There are very few human beings alive that can handle the pace that Colby Covington puts on. The only one that we've seen lately do it is Kamaru Usman, and we've seen those guys fight for 9.5 rounds. And Christ, man, I've got it about at 5-5. This is about as close as they could get. Colby Covington is really the only real competition right now for Kamaru Usman at 170, besides maybe Khamzat Chimaev. And we just see this guy Colby being younger, being the way better wrestler, being the way more conditioned athlete, and seeming to be the guy that has more to win in the future here. I think with a win over Masvidal and maybe one other win, he can get another title shot. But Masvidal here, at 37 years old, 51 professional fights after this one, around 600 minutes of cage time. He owns his own promotion, Icon Fighting. He's got a lot of irons in the fire. I don't know what the commitment is going to look like for Jorge Masvidal. And if he's not 100% committed to winning this fight and training to do that, Colby Covington should be minus 1,000 here. Because Colby's the kind of guy that we can count on to go to the wrestling against a guy like Masvidal. Colby's a very smart fighter. You know, he'll attempt, we see 19 fights and 131 takedown attempts. So that's about 6.5 takedown attempts per fight. But usually when he wants to grapple, he'll attempt more than 10 takedowns in a fight. And when he doesn't want to grapple, he'll attempt 0 and stop takedowns from his opponent, like he did in the Damian Maia fight. So I don't predict that Colby Covington is going to allow Jorge Masvidal to strike for long here. And if he does that, and he uses this 44.88% control time for and 2.66% control time against over a 14-fight and 225-minute sample size, I expect that even though Jorge Masvidal has shown 73.27% takedown defense and has been controlled for 50 minutes out of 253, which is pretty good, I do see that this fight is going to take place in the control time positions over half the time. And the longer that Colby wrestles, the less effective Masvidal's striking will be as the fight goes on. And I just think Colby Covington is going to win this fight by decision with a wrestling-heavy game plan that goes for a full 25 minutes, frustrating and infuriating Jorge Masvidal, which is exactly what I would expect Colby Covington to do. The pick is Colby Covington by decision. The bet is FanDuel.com. Covington round 4, 5, or by decision minus 155 for 1.55 units. I got Covington winning the grudge match. That means we have broken down all 13 fights on the UFC 272 card, which leaves us with one order of business left to cover, you guys. Who is going to be Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week? We've been on a heater, you guys. We're cashing ass shavings left and right. We got off to a slow start. Now we're hot. And when we're hot, we got to stay hot. We got to do the research. We got to find the most one-sided matchup, or just a matchup where we don't see a path for the opponent. And I see a couple of them, right? For instance, I'm not going to give you Umar Nurmagomedov as the ass shaving of the week because he's the widest line on the tape. But I really think he's going to win this fight. I mean, he should be better everywhere, and I don't see a whole lot of other opportunities here. But there was one fight in particular where I felt very confident about one of them winning and one of them losing. And I felt very confident about the fact that the person I think was going to lose this fight just didn't have any ways to win it. So let me create a banner here and give you guys Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. And let's scroll that across the bottom and add that banner. And we are going to go with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. It's going to be Marina Rodriguez to shave the ass of the hapless Xiaonan. She has been finished inside the distance a couple of times. I don't see her being able to utilize the wrestling to win minutes on the ground. And if she can't win minutes on the ground, it's just a matter of time before Marina, who is so mean and so powerful and so accurate and so technical, she is going to find that chin, and Jan is going to wind up looking at the lights wondering what happened. That's where we're going to leave it, you guys. Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week is going to be Marina Rodriguez to shave the ass of Jan Xiaonan. You guys, thank you for hanging out. Over 50 of you guys in here live, hanging out with your Uncle Weezy on a Tuesday night. I appreciate each and every one of you for spending this time with us. God bless each and every one of you for hanging out. And let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 272. I will see you tomorrow night right here on my channel, 10 o'clock p.m. for a Balls Deep breakdown, 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time on Pub Sports Radio for the DFS show. And I will also be doing a very special story time with Uncle Weezy. I think I'm probably going to go live maybe before the Club and Sub podcast goes live. Maybe I'll go 8:30 Central Time. I want to just talk to you about the events in my life that kind of led up to me doing this content creation thing here for MMA and where I want to take it in the future. It's something I feel like that's important for me to talk to you guys about. It's not going to be like one of my funny stories. I think it's going to be a story that just kind of hopefully motivates other content creators and hopefully gets everybody out there that hears it some hope that they can do something that they're passionate about in their life, which is something that I'm lucky enough to do with you guys here as you guys hang out with me, listen to my show, listen to my breakdowns, support my show. I feel really humbled and really lucky that I've got this community of really supportive people around me. And I wanted to just talk to you guys about that tomorrow night for a little bit. I hope you'll enjoy that. But I really enjoyed breaking down all 13 fights on the UFC 272 card with you guys. And I want you guys to stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 272. I intend to do the same. And I will see you guys tomorrow right here on my channel and on Pub Sports Radio. You guys, can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. Have a great night. God bless.